Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar, which is titled HubSpot, the missing link for fuel dealers, brought to you by Cargus, as well as a wonderful guest from HubSpot. So today's speakers are Esther Angel, VP of CRM. So Esther, our wonderful VP here at Cargus, she drives growth and fosters team empowerment here. With over a decade in oil and gas manufacturing experience and 15 plus years in sales and marketing across nonprofits and for-profits, Esther brings rich experience here to Cargus. She's also been serving on the Women's Energy Network board, which is amazing, and is a regular presenter at the Women in Energy events. Eric Gervais here is our CRM sales manager. So Eric joined the team here at Cargus in 2017 with 15 years of sales experience, primarily in digital publishing. Eric has always been interested in helping businesses use technology to become more successful and efficient. As a sales manager for the CRM team, Eric does just that, working with local businesses to improve their software solutions so they can feel confident, grow faster, and focus on what they do best. And then Brett Smith here is our CRM systems consultant. So Brett joined the team here in 2022 with an array of experience under his belt. After 6 years in the software industry as a product and project manager, he spent almost 10 years exploring the construction and marketing industry. At Cargus, Brett helps clients implement software to improve sales processes and grows their businesses too. And then lastly, we have Guillaume Delot, a senior PDM at HubSpot. We're really excited to have him with us today. He graduated from UNH in 2008 with a BA in philosophy. After a brief stint working in the marketing agency industry in the New Hampshire Seacoast, he joined a tech startup scene in Boston to further develop his technical marketing skills. Since then, he's been working as a senior consultant at HubSpot, helping customers grow their businesses with technology. If everybody's ready, let's get started with the webinar.
All right, I'm gonna switch things over here. Take a second, Gia. Thank you very much, Emily, for helping us get started here. All right, and Brett is going to drive. If you see some of us, many of us are in the room together. So if you see us looking in different weird directions, that's because we can actually see each other in person. G is actually joining us remotely. So welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be talking a little bit about HubSpot. We're going to be talking about how it integrates with Cargus Energy, and we look forward to sharing that information with you. So let's start with a little bit of an overview. We're going to talk about why HubSpot. So Cargus has been working with CRM systems for over 20 years. Why are we really pushing HubSpot now? Why do we think it's the right answer for the energy industry? We're going to then talk a little bit about why Cargus. So from HubSpot's perspective, why is it important to bring in partners and work with organizations like Cargus? We're going to see some real solutions. So this is where Brett's going to jump in and show us some solutions. I will say that during that portion, feel free to post your questions. It's a great time. Brett would actually appreciate that so he doesn't feel like he's talking to a wall. So feel free to post those questions in there, and Brett will pass those on to Brett and make sure they get over so he can potentially demo what your question is about. And then we're going to close it up with Eric. He's going to talk a little bit about how Cargus is approaching the partnership with HubSpot and how you can learn more. So let's start off with our introductions so you can kind of see. Actually, I already did that. I jumped ahead of myself, so we'll go ahead and skip this slide. But I already told you what you were going to be doing. That'll be in the handout so you don't forget who we are. All right, so let's talk about why HubSpot. What we've found with working with Cargus Energy for quite some time is that the challenges are real. So your customers want to be connected to you, and you need to be connected with your customers. The challenge becomes when we don't have enough time to waste time. So we're spending resources, both personnel and money, on marketing efforts, on sales efforts, and we want to make sure that that money, we're getting the most bang for our buck out of that. So we don't have time to sit there and try to do something over and over again. This is where we're going to leverage technology. So let's talk about why HubSpot. Why was HubSpot the solution when we really think about customer connection, when we think about connecting with customers? One of the key things is HubSpot's market share and presence. So when we think about what the energy and fuel delivery, what these organizations need, it's around marketing. Yes, you have sales needs, absolutely. But that marketing touch, that ability to automate messages, to get those out in a streamlined fashion, to be, and as complex as the industry has become with social media, with other multiple ways by which you can monitor content and put content out there, what HubSpot has really done is put themselves out as the leader, and G's going to talk a little bit about this, really going to talk about the leadership that HubSpot and their philosophy around marketing automation, what we mean by that. So when we think about marketing automation, 37% of the market for digital marketing automation is owned by HubSpot. That's a huge percentage. That's pretty much the best of the best that you're looking at there. Another key thing that we found has resonated, and I think Eric can talk a little bit about this later, is the easy to use interface. We're going to see that today. It just makes sense. It's not complicated. It comes straight out at you with a lot of the things that just make sense in the way you run your business. And the fact is that your success matters. We need to make sure that you're successful, hit the ground running. This isn't an industry where you're going to put that investment out and you're going to wait months. You don't really want to wait 6, 8, 12 months before you see that return and you find that you're really able to dive into the system and use it. So having an easy to use interface tied with that integration with Cargus Energy really makes that happen. So moving on, we are going to just give a little bit of an overview. This is the organizations that are already on both systems. Several of them are integrating their data now. That's still being rolled out. But you can kind of see here, like this is something that people are already starting to find value from. So moving on to G, I'll let you talk a little bit about, as Cargus and HubSpot, we kind of found each other and jumped into this. So give us a little bit from your perspective on what HubSpot is and why are you partnering with Cargus and all those good things.
For sure. Thank you, Esther, for inviting me to this webinar. I'm very excited to be able to speak with you all. So yeah, I think what I like to do when I talk about what is HubSpot, I like to talk a bit briefly about the history of HubSpot. And I think this is sort of, if you've heard of HubSpot before, if you've heard of our brand, I'm sure you've heard of the concept of inbound marketing. And for those who are not familiar, right, basically what our founders discovered about 15 years ago is that the way consumers were making purchase decisions had changed dramatically. And the old kind of outbound tactics of cold emailing and cold prospecting and traditional advertising wasn't working as well as it used to. And so their big idea was to use technology as a way to kind of flip the script and kind of come up with inbound methodology. So what that means is instead of trying to kind of talk to your consumers and get them to come and say, hey, please come to us, instead position your organization in such a way that people naturally come to you. And really the best way of doing this is by sharing your expertise. And so instead of sort of, it's about who can scream the loudest, it's more about who has the best expertise in a given space and have people come to you. So that was kind of like our big idea. And so along with this methodology, we built a marketing solution. When we started out with just a marketing solution, you can see it represented here on the right. And basically the idea was we wanted to build a tool that your marketing manager could just start using and basically build and run their entire marketing stack on it. And so instead of having to purchase your email marketing from one software and run social through another and run your content through another, we brought everything into a single space. And so the idea was an all-in-one solution. You could create content on your own, you could build landing pages, you could handle your social media, you could do some SEO, all in one single place. The idea was really to empower our users to be independent and not be stretched through super thin across a bunch of different solutions. And that's really how we built our CRM as well, right? Which we're going to talk about and dig into today. So the first thing you'll notice about our CRM is it's a unified sales and marketing solution. So again, instead of having marketing being in one place and your CRM being another, when you purchase HubSpot, you get a single source of truth. And that's really helpful, right? Because somebody sends out a marketing email, for example, the sales folks can actually see the results of how that email campaign has actually how well it's done. And so same thing with social media. We're running social media campaigns. Your sales team also has access to that data. So everything is in one place. And also you don't need to bolt on systems to one to another and hope and pray the data works well. No, there's just one database to run everything. It's clean, it's smooth, and everybody can have access to it. Secondly, and Esther touched on this already, super intuitive interface, right? We spend a lot of time on our UX in making tools that really are meant to work for you, not the other way around, right? We don't want our users having to spend endless hours of training to work the tool. As you can see, as Brett will demonstrate, the tool is like super easy to use. And really, we spend a lot of time on research and figure out what are the features that matter most to your day-to-day, right? So we really focus on that, on those handful of features you're gonna be working every day. And I can tell you as an employee of HubSpot, we use those tools ourselves. So we really eat our own dog food when it comes to that. But you'll notice a lot of the features here, we might not have as many as some of our competitors, but we do have worked really well, and anybody can kind of find value in them. And then finally, kind of a big philosophy of doing more with less, right? The same way that we wanted our marketing manager to basically be able to run the entire marketing on her own using our technology, that's kind of a philosophy that carries to this day. And so we have a big focus on automation here at HubSpot, which we call workflows. And basically in all kinds of ways of creating automation, but you see, somebody come to your website, download a form, and we can automatically send them an email marketing or an email to welcome them to the website. Basic automation like that can be built very, very easily. And then kind of looking towards the future, we're also looking to incorporate AI into this as well. Now, we're not looking to do AI just for the sake of AI, but how can we use AI technology to make you even more efficient? And so now in HubSpot, you can use AI to automatically generate email copy, blog copy. If you need a report created, boom, we'll create one for you at a click of a button. Obviously, it's just a starting point, right? Then you want to refine whatever the AI system gives you. But the idea is we believe AI can be more efficient and allow you to do your real job and not spend your time in software, because that's not what we're here to do. You're actually to achieve some sort of desired outcome. And then finally, kind of, I want to speak about the partnership. Obviously, I've been working with Cargus for a long time now. I love this team, and I think I just want to highlight this is kind of how we win as an organization, and also how you as a consumer win as well. Because we understand software, we understand product development, but what we're missing as an organization is really the expertise in the space that we're talking about. And so nobody understands energy better than Cargus. And for us, they make our life so much easier. When our customers are paired with someone like Cargus, they're way more efficient, they get started a lot more quickly, and they just get a lot more value out of the tools more quickly. So thank you guys again for inviting me. I'm stoked for this partnership. I can't wait to see what Brett has put together. So with that, I'll leave it to Brett to kind of do a little demo of what the tool actually looks like.
Awesome. Thank you, G. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here today. My name is Brett Smith. I'm a consultant on the CRM team. And in my role, I'm very lucky that I get to work with a lot of fuel organizations that are making a transition from a sales process that may be somewhat informal, relying on Outlook, Excel, and they're trying to formalize that process, standardize it. And what I found is that them working with HubSpot makes that much easier process. There's a lot of functionality available to them right out of the gates. It helps them define their sales process and then over time refine that sales process. And not just sales, but marketing as well. Again, having sales and marketing in the same space really goes a long way. So anytime I see an organization having chose HubSpot, I get excited about it because I really think it's a great product. So for the purpose of today's demo, what I'm going to do is walk you through HubSpot with a typical story. And so the idea would be when the phone rings in your office, how do you answer that phone call, work with that potential customer, turn them into a customer, and then beyond. And we're going to walk through that story, looking at HubSpot and seeing how it can help us along the way. So again, imagine the phone rings, and what I'm going to do is create a contact. So I know the name of the person who's calling in. I'm just going to use myself as an example here. And very simply, I can create a contact. Doesn't really matter who answers that call. It may be your most recent hire, or it may be your most seasoned salesperson. After creating that contact, both of those people would have the ability to use some functionality that could help guide the rest of that conversation. And so from the contact record here, what I'm going to show you is a playbook. Now, the example that I'm going to highlight is imagining that the person is calling in about a propane delivery, and they're interested in your business. Maybe they saw an advertisement or a billboard around town. Ultimately, they want to know, what's the price per gallon? What's it going to cost me to do business with you guys? And you probably will offer that information. But using this playbook, you can also get some information from them that will help turn this contact into a more relevant lead. And so this playbook example has a few questions, such as who owns your tank? Maybe you can then put in the size of the tank. Is it above ground or underground, etc. What are the average gallons you've used in the past? What price are you currently paying? And what do you use it for? So again, anybody could use a playbook to gather this type of information and then turn this initial contact into more than just, hey, somebody called us. It's now something that's relevant that our sales and marketing teams can act on. I don't have it as an example here today, but another use of playbook that I found I think is really cool is somebody calling and saying, my heat is no longer working. And of course, you want to help them. You want to do everything you can to get them back up and running. You would pass it off to your service team. But you could have a playbook geared toward that situation, and maybe the least technical person would be able to help get some initial information. So did you check your thermostat? Or what happens with your thermostat when you turn it to the setting? Or did you check these pieces of your equipment? A playbook would help you kind of take that action and then pass off a contact record to a service department that has a little bit more info built in. So that's playbooks, and they are very easy to set up and
can you click on
get running.
Click on the intro call just to show kind of.
Sure. So
just so you can see kind of the data actually
yeah,
into the record.
So all that information that's added by whomever took the call, it saves now to the record. And let's say this is a hot lead and you want to pass this person, you want to pass Brett Smith off to the sales team. Whoever then is assigned this particular call could come here and see the information that was already gathered. That would be the case of a hot lead, and we're actually going to cover kind of that scenario in a moment. But I want to imagine that this is actually somebody who just wanted information, was resistant to connecting with a salesperson. What we could do then is make this person eligible for a marketing campaign, let's say a cold lead campaign. And so we could enroll them in a simple automation, maybe over the course of a few weeks, where they would receive a handful of emails, not doing any hard selling, but would keep your company and your brand top of mind, so that when they do reach back out, they think of you first, and then this same record will kind of surface to your sales team and they can run with it from there. Second hypothetical scenario is, let's say this person is interested, but didn't want to connect with a salesperson today. Another feature that we can make use of is sequences. And so sequences is automation, but it's more geared towards individual sellers. So let's say Brett Smith called in and we know he is probably interested, but he's not ready to connect with our salesperson yet. We can enroll Brett Smith in a sequence. And then this sequence is predefined, and this particular example has 4 steps, but to just focus on the top 2. The first thing that will happen for Brett when he's enrolled in the sequence is he'll get an email saying, hey, Brett, thanks for your interest in our company, et cetera, et cetera. Would you like to schedule a meeting? Thanks very much, Eric. And this email, even though it's automated and Eric really didn't do anything to send this email, it will look as if it came directly from Eric. And then the next step in this sequence is, let's say Brett didn't respond to that email. Let's automatically create a task on Eric's to-do list for him to follow up with Brett in person and try to make contact. So this is a very simple example of a sequence, but the idea here is these would be one-off automations for contacts that showed interest but maybe aren't quite there and ready to engage with the salesperson. Sequences will allow you to keep in touch with them at the right time, and then when they are ready, your sales team is ready as well.
Well, and one of the cool things about those sequences is you can identify, if you have team members that are really, really good at their job and they have these types of behaviors that you find successful, sequences is a great opportunity for you to interview them, understand why they're successful, and then replicate that and give your other sales or CSRs tools that they can use to be successful. So it's kind of that, again, to your point of documentation, we talked about how you go through this process to begin to document that.
Yeah.
It's really helpful in creating consistency.
Right. Yeah, it's having that standardization, but not having it be a limit. It's a benefit in this case. So back to my particular contact, Brett Smith. We're going to imagine now the scenario where this is a hot lead. He called in and he's like, yes, I'm interested in moving forward. So what we're going to do now is open a deal record for Brett. And I'm going to just create this quickly. And I'm going to fill out very minimal information. And now we're going to land on the deal record. And I'll zoom out for a moment to what is called the deal pipeline. So this to me is the heart of sales functionality in any CRM, but really in HubSpot. This is our deal pipeline. And I work with a lot of customers that have start out with a single pipeline, and you can see that here. They're focused on propane sales, but then over time they start to add additional pipelines. So they may have an HVAC pipeline or a service pipeline, and you can really segment your deals based on the service that's being provided. I love this this board view because it's a really easy way for sales teams to actually work with the data. And so let's say on my first call with Brett, I actually scheduled or determined that we didn't need a site visit, which is stage 2 here, and he's ready to buy, so I'm ready to propose. I can move this deal forward to the appropriate point in the sales process and then take the actions I need to from there. Another quick feature I'll show you here is we can require fields. So when you move a deal forward, actually that's the wrong stage, let me move it over here to close lost. We can have certain fields pop up. And in this case, this field is not required. It's just a reminder, hey, you should fill out a closed lost reason. We could alternatively require this. The benefit there is that your sales team will be able to progress deals through the pipeline. But if there is information that you need from a reporting point of view or to make sure that when you're proposing, you have everything you need, you can use this functionality to make sure the information is complete. So I'm looking at my notes here. After we have worked this deal, and I'm going to click in it here, I'm going to click actually into the deal record and just show you here on the left-hand side. There's some sections that are somewhat closely aligned with these stages. And so the fields that you can put into these sections are configurable. This is what your organization would do to define their sales process. And then your sales users will be able to say, cool, these are the things I need to complete during the discovery stage. I need to identify the current supplier. Once that's done, good to go, move it on to the next stage, propose, etc. So it's kind of twofold. You can do it here from the deal record or from the pipeline view. That way you're making sure you get complete data for every deal. So now let's imagine that we have closed, well, sorry, I was going to close one the deal, but I realized we're sitting in the contract stage, and a feature that I see a lot of organizations either using or they choose to adopt is e-sign functionality. So whether that's PandaDoc or DocuSign or some other, they have really nice integrations with HubSpot. And what that will allow you to do is create templates in your e-sign platform, map data from this record that we're sitting on, this deal record, and it will auto-populate, let's say, your proposal template or your contract document. And so gone are the days of kind of adding it in 2 different places. That will automatically flow over to your e-sign platform, and then you can send that contract document via email. Hopefully they will sign and return it, and that would take a matter of hours. If you're currently doing that via US mail, that would be could be a matter of weeks. So that's a nice feature that I think a lot of organizations see benefit from, and it's a nice integration with HubSpot. I am going to highlight this install stage because this is something else that I see somewhat regularly, and it actually took me by surprise. What is unique to HubSpot here is that install is a closed stage, meaning the revenue is being reported as you'd expect. Maybe the sales team is saying, hey, I'm done with this deal. The person agreed, we're good to go. But for a lot of fuel organizations, that's not the end of it. there may be some assets that need to be installed or some licensing documents that need to be signed. And so that's often a function of an operations or admin team as opposed to a sales team. And so having a stage dedicated to not sales, but it's still a closed won deal has been a very useful feature for a lot of the companies I work with. And it's brought in those admin and operations teams into HubSpot. So now we not only have marketing and sales, we now have an operations team using HubSpot to manage their workflow. And this might be a sign that, okay, I need to send licensing documents, I need to enter them into Cargus Energy. And once all of that is done, now we can officially close the deal and it will remain closed won in perpetuity. So that's a nice flexible feature of HubSpot. Once we have closed won a deal, you'll see that HubSpot will automatically take the associated contact or company and turn them into a customer. And then once that happens, you can have all sorts of things occur. One hypothetical is a customer onboarding automation. And so this would be maybe a marketing exercise, but once a deal is won, you can say, fire this automation, and at minimum, send them an email saying, welcome to the organization. We're happy to be working with you. Meet the team. If you need support, here's who to reach out. It could be a single email, or that could be a more robust automation that would send emails over the course of weeks. If you're working with a third-party supplier and they're maybe sending welcome packets to your new customers, that same automation can send a kind of behind-the-scenes email to that third-party supplier. And it can capture all the relevant data, name, address, services that they've subscribed to. And then that would be the third party's signal to go ahead and send the welcome basket and kick off that process. So again, it's automating a lot of these steps that an admin or an operations team may be currently doing manually. So that can all be built into HubSpot. So now after we have won the deal and maybe the customer has received a welcome packet, and maybe the admin team has now entered them into Cargus Energy, this is where we'll start to see the integration come into play, the integration with Cargus Energy.
So Brett, at this point, there was a question from the crowd. So does the current version of the integration automatically create a Cargus account from HubSpot? How does that work?
Okay, so does the current version of the integration automatically create an energy?
Cargus Energy.
Gotcha. That's a great question. The answer is no, not in this current version of the integration. This is phase one. There are future phases. The reason behind that is that the way you create a customer in Energy is different than the way HubSpot customer is created in HubSpot. It's a data structure issue. So that's not currently possible at the moment. You would create that customer in Cargus Energy the way you currently are, and then data will flow back from Energy into HubSpot.
There are ways to streamline that. Like if there is a different person that sets up that account when you close the deal one, that information can be automatically emailed or go into a report that and with an activity for someone to do that.
Exactly.
But it is the sequence of which you and how you set an account up because of some of the requirements and calculations on the back end of Cargus Energy really restrict how much you can push over. So it's absolutely something we're continuing to look at and figure out what's the best path forward that works for customers.
Right. But once this customer is in Cargus Energy, the integration will run and it will locate the same record in HubSpot, and then it will connect the two. And then what you'll see on your contact or company record in HubSpot are these Cargus Energy sections on the left-hand side. So these previously didn't exist, but now that we're connected with the integration, we'll see these sections. And sorry, I'm going to jump over to the contact record. So we have these three Cargus Energy sections, and these are the fields that we're currently integrating over. This is all of the fields, so there are three sections. I think it's 60 plus fields at this point. You as a customer can choose which fields you show, do not show in HubSpot. You can reorganize their order, etc. But clearly the benefit of seeing this data, there's many benefits, but you can now see energy data in HubSpot without having to log into Cargus Energy. That alone is a nice feature. If you did choose to log into Cargus Energy, at the bottom of this first section, we have a link. With a single click, you can get to that customer record in Energy and then view additional data as needed. Now that I'm here in energy, I'm just going to pause and show you two quick things. The customer information section here is where you would actually be able to set whether this customer syncs back to HubSpot or not. And that's a simple on or off. And you can edit that. Once the integration is up and running, you'll have access to this, and you can dictate who comes back into HubSpot or who doesn't. And then the last thing to mention here is this customer, we can see, is a will call customer, not an automatic customer. And so if we look at this record here in HubSpot, we'll see that same data reflected here. They're a will call customer, not an automatic customer. So changes made on the energy side will flow through to HubSpot, and you'll see data mirrored over here. I specifically highlighted this will call to automatic example because I want to show an automation, kind of use this as an example to dive into automations in HubSpot. And my understanding is you would love all of your customers to be automatic. You don't love will call customers. So
We love all the customers, Brett. Come on.
we love them all. If possible, you would love all your customers to switch over to automatic, and HubSpot can help you do that. And so this is a specific automation we've built that would allow you to look at your existing customers. In this case, we're saying, are they a customer? Are they will call? Are they a residential customer, etc. We have a delay step built in here. So let's say they just signed on with us. We want to wait a couple days or a couple weeks before we start reaching out and trying to convince them to move over to automatic. And then we're going to check, are they automatic? If not, we're going to send them an email. And if they react to that email and do sign on to automatic delivery, then they will be taken out of this automation. They won't receive any additional communication. But if they aren't, then a few days later, they'll receive a second email. And again, it's espousing the benefits of moving to automatic. Hey, you should stay in touch with us, or you should jump over to automatic. Here's all the benefits as to why. This is not something that your marketing team is going to have to do repeatedly. This automation will run, and these customers will hopefully start to move over from will call to automatic. I want to highlight I want to change this workflow to really highlight just how easy it is to build and work with automations in HubSpot. And so what I'm going to do here is, let's say 2 emails isn't enough, and I want to create a new step that says, after we send them 2 emails, I want one of my sales team members to get in touch with this person and have a conversation about moving over to automatic. And so we can add that step very easily by, in this case, copying a step and placing it here at the end. And let's say I want to change it from a 9-day delay to just a 5-day delay. So there we go. We're now delaying 5 days. We're going to do another check to see if they have actually switched from will call to automatic. And if they haven't, then what we're going to do in this yes branch is we're going to create a task. And this is a simple create a task for my salesperson to follow up regarding will call or automatic. And there's some details here, but I think I can assign it to, let's say, a salesperson, a specific user, or I can say the owner of that contact, so the person who is responsible for them. So we've just added a whole new step to this automation that will now not only email the contact, but will then follow up with a task to our salesperson to call that contact and hopefully move them from will call to automatic.
We have a couple questions.
Awesome.
Yes, so Brett, we've seen a lot here, and you've worked with maybe a couple handfuls of customers in the last year and a half. What types of functionality are the customers? Are they just using it for sales? Are they using it for marketing? Both? What have you seen?
Yeah, I've seen both, of course, and that's really where you get a lot of value is from having both sales and marketing. But I've also worked with a lot of customers who have chosen to start with just sales, and they are getting a lot of value from just having a more formal sales process, having a pipeline or pipelines. Automations are possible to a degree within sales only. And then another thing which I haven't demoed is the ability to put a form on your website. And so if a customer visits your website and says, I'm interested in propane delivery, that may write currently to a shared sales inbox. HubSpot sales only has the ability to say, let's republish that form so it doesn't go to a shared inbox. It automatically populates HubSpot. And now they're all in one place. They're being kept track of. Notifications can occur. and they can walk through the sales process pretty quickly. So
awesome. There was one other question. So saw some of those screens, maybe some of the fields on those screens that we were looking at, the contact record, companies, maybe they're not the fields that they want to collect. How much is customizable? What can you do with that?
Yeah, it's very customizable, highly customizable. So on this left-hand side, we could add sections. So I showed a different contact with delivery and propose sections, and then within each of these sections we can add whatever fields or properties you guys want added. There are a lot of native fields that will make sense to sales and marketing users, but you can add custom fields as you desire. That's the beauty. It's very customizable. It can match your sales process, and it's very easy to create fields, expose them on a contact or a company record, and build your process from there.
I think we've got one more maybe from.
Yeah, we've got a couple more actually.
Oh,
yeah.
a couple more.
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you see customers using this for commercial and residential? That's coming from Brian at Arrow.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a simple, let's say a field on a record where so a contact could be obviously a residential customer, but a contact could also be associated with a commercial customer. So you can differentiate that via a single field on the contact record. Companies are obviously going to be more in the commercial space. You can then have separate pipelines if you run deals, commercial deals through different steps than you would residential deals. So flexibility is there to accommodate both commercial and residential, and the integration is there as well. It will pass over customers, both contacts, and those companies will now exist in HubSpot as well.
One of the questions was, how do you show customers with multiple tanks, auto versus will call? So let's say I have 3 tanks, 2 of them are on auto, 2 of them are on will call. Do you feel comfortable explaining that? Because I can dive into that a little bit. So
I've seen that in energy, obviously, and that's the type of information that you're going to want to default to the energy platform to see. If they have both will call and automatic, what will show up in HubSpot is yes to both. That may be because they have one tank that's on will call, another that's on automatic. But to get that detail, that granularity, that's where you're going to go to Cargus Energy, and that's the better place to manage that information.
Yeah, and that might actually be a good place to ask the other question, because it kind of goes to the structure of the integration. So the question from Rebecca was, can a CSR edit tank information in HubSpot while on the phone with a lead? Is it mirrored to that tank record? What's the actual design of the integration?
So what I'll start out by saying is that the Cargus Energy fields that exist in HubSpot are read-only, and that goes back to this being currently a one-way integration from Energy to HubSpot. And so your users can actually engage with or see the data, but if they want to make changes to the data, that would still occur in Cargus Energy.
And then the question may be about how the objects are connected. So like, what's connected to what from Cargus Energy to HubSpot?
Gotcha. Yeah. So with the integration, the connection is occurring with the contacts in HubSpot and your customers in Cargus Energy. And then as part of the integration, there are going to be some workflows that are built into HubSpot, which will check whether this is a residential customer or a commercial customer. And if it is a commercial customer, it will create and associate a company record in HubSpot. And so you have a commercial customer in Energy. When they flow into HubSpot, you'll get both a contact and a customer created. The connection between the two is via the contact record.
Yeah, and then I'll just add one final thing. So 90% of the integration is from the customer record in Cargus Energy to the contact record in HubSpot. We did do some kind of like development effort beforehand, interviewed some customers, and found like a number of key data points that are coming off of different objects in Cargus Energy, namely that will call on the tank record. We use that to pull some information into the contact record, but intentionally didn't build more custom objects inside of HubSpot to make it more complex. And by the way, kind of like force you into a subscription model in HubSpot. So we wanted to make it flexible for you, but not like overcomplicate it. So that was the thought process.
Right. Yeah, and I've integrated for a handful of customers, and I think, like you said, without a huge subscription in HubSpot, they're getting a lot of value from it already, which is great. There aren't any other questions at the moment. I think what I wanted to highlight didn't quite fit into my storyline, but 2 additional features which I think are really valuable and somewhat unique to HubSpot. First is the data deduplication tool. So you're going to be having sales data, marketing data, and now connection with energy. HubSpot has built in just the ability to manage and handle duplicates. And this is just, I love this because it's just so quick and easy. And then therefore you can do it on a regular basis. You can identify duplicates, merge them if necessary, and then that's that. So that's a cool feature, I think. And then the last one is the HubSpot Insights database. And so the HubSpot Insights database is essentially scraping publicly available information. And the scenario I imagine here is that you're driving around town and maybe you pass a new restaurant and you think, I'd like to do business with them. I don't really know much about them. I don't know anybody at the company, but I want to capture that restaurant and see if we can prospect and hopefully learn more information about them. So you might know the company name and you could come in here and add the name of the restaurant, whatever other information you're aware of. Or if you typed in the company's website address, then the HubSpot Insights database will scrape that publicly available information and pull in all of this data right out of the gates. And you saw how quickly that happened. And so once you create that company, now whoever is prospecting this company and trying to identify people here, they have a head start. They've got data available to them. It may be a minor thing, but you've got a logo. And to me, this comes back to it's a user-friendly, usable system, and sales and marketing teams love it, I think, for reasons like this. So yeah, that's kind of the end of what I wanted to highlight. If there are other questions.
Yeah, I'll see if there's any other questions out there before we move off the demo.
Honestly, as a marketing person, I'm kind of curious, with filling out that information directly, would that be something that you can use for such as like an ads campaign? Could you use that if you wanted to directly target them?
Absolutely. I mean, this data exists in HubSpot now, so you can build an automation and your trigger could be based off of any of these things. You could say, I want to market to companies that have an annual revenue above or below a certain amount. So yeah, this data now lives in HubSpot. It's associated with this record and you can use it however you'd like.
Ad campaigns in a box almost.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. I'm going to pass it off to Eric.
Great. So if this has piqued your interest, I think the idea here is we just want you to understand kind of how you work with us, how you work with HubSpot. So essentially what will happen when we start talking to you is we'll co-sell with HubSpot. So we'll get an assigned salesperson. We'll work together with you, learn about your unique needs and challenges, and work with you to understand how you might use a marketing and sales tool for your organization. We do have a series of fixed fee, fixed scope service packages that we've recognized as opportunities for success with energy customers. So we have the ability to prescribe a couple packages, or if your situation is so unique and different, we could build custom packages for you. But what we're finding is because of our knowledge of the energy space, that kind of starter service package that we have in place that we've developed for our energy customers tends to be a great starting place. So we would work with you on how you set up the system, how you get trained to use the system, both end users and admins. We can also be ongoing support for you beyond go live, so we can help you once you have it up and running and your sales team, your marketing team is using it. We can do ongoing training or support or optimization of the system. And we're going to be working directly with the HubSpot sales team. So you'd have kind of like a software cost directly from HubSpot and then services to implement HubSpot from Cargus. So we're working with a lot of new customers, both just on HubSpot alone and with the Cargus Energy integration. And as a result, we're offering all kinds of early adopter incentives, including the first year of subscription for the energy integration for free for our early adopters. And we'd love the opportunity to talk with you about it.
Cool. Well, we do have one other question, and Rebecca, this is a very complex question, so maybe a longer conversation. There are some customers out there that are going on to HubSpot, integrating it with Salesforce and leaving the Salesforce integration in place. So I think it would really depend on your business objectives. What are you trying to accomplish? If you're already using Salesforce, that's really a question that you have to kind of look at. Is it worth the re-implementation? Is it, where are my concerns and my challenges? I don't know if you want to add on to that, Eric.
Yeah, so I would say complexity has gone down, partly because this is a first iteration of the integration, so we've intentionally kept it simpler. One of the challenges that we did have with the Salesforce and Cargus Energy integration was everything was current customer to account record, so the account record in Salesforce as opposed to the contact record, and largely you're marketing to people, not companies. So when we recreated or created a new integration for HubSpot, we remedied that and created it from company to contact. So though it is simpler, that was a rethought after we had kind of launched that for Salesforce. So you don't have to do any workflows or automation to create contact records on the Salesforce side or on the HubSpot side like you did have to in the Salesforce. So I'd say that's an improvement. And there's less noise. So we didn't just dump every data point from Cargus Energy into HubSpot, like maybe we did with Salesforce. There's just a lot more data coming, which may sound like maybe a drawback, but I think the reality is it brings down the noise in the system. And we were more intentional about what data points we brought over just from knowledge of 8 to 10 years with the integration for Salesforce. So still growing, but I'd say it is simpler and a little refined based on experience that we had. If you are interested, Wes Kittner and my team is the right person to reach out to. You can always reach out to me too, but Wes's email address is right here. And then if you want to go out to the Cargus Energy website, there's a whole page related to the HubSpot integration. There's a sample demo up there, and you can reach out directly from that page as well.
So the question here is, how do leads from text move to HubSpot? And there are multiple ways to solve this. I think I demoed today just how you create a lead directly in, or create a contact directly in HubSpot. This is what we would call a lead, and then you can move it forward through to the deal process. Another way that they can come into HubSpot is through a form, and I did not demo that, but I mentioned we could create many forms. So we could have one dedicated to your Contact Us page on your website, a different one dedicated to I'm interested in propane delivery. There could be a third one that's dedicated to CSMs or CSRs, and that's the form they use to just complete it, fill out whatever information they need, and then those leads will be created in HubSpot and can be surfaced to the right team.
Awesome. Well, I really want to thank everybody for joining in today. Thank you to Emily for hosting. Thanks for Brett. That was a really fantastic demo. I feel like every time I'm on a demo with you, I learn something new. So I appreciate that. Same with Eric as you're talking about this. So I really appreciate that. And of course, we are available if there are any more questions, if you have any thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. G, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate all that HubSpot is doing and working with us on tying these two systems together. So appreciate everyone.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you for the kind words, Mary Ellen Donald. And as well as Rebecca, that was wonderful. We really appreciate that. Again, just to kind of follow up with everything here, thank you for joining. There will be a very short survey after this webinar. So if you have the opportunity to fill it out, it's only like 2 questions, so that'd be great. And again, you will be getting an email after this with the recording, so feel free to share that with anyone else on your team here, as well as the handout. But if you have any questions, the HubSpot and Cargus team is really here to help. So thank you all so much.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.